Good morning. This is Kim De Silva from Language of Relationships, and welcome to Zingo TV Networks and the Spanish World Network on channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app from the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV Sticks, Roku and Roku Sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 forward. So, welcome this morning to Kate. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Hi, I'm excellent. So excited to be here.
Lovely. So, Kate and I have actually known each other for several years now. We were talking about it just last week, actually, on her face, and we did a live on her Facebook page, and we were saying we can't believe how many years have actually passed since we've been chatting. But I'm very excited to have her here today because she is an energy healing practitioner. Um, and I know some of you might be thinking, what is that? What does that mean? And what does that have to do with anything that we normally chat about here? Well, it has a lot to do with it, all right? Because, Kate will explain a lot of it, but the bottom line is we are all made up of energy. And sometimes we don't even understand why we might be acting in a particular way, why we might be feeling a particular way. And people who do work like Kate does, they can help you figure out exactly what blocks you might be having and why, or just identify it so you know what you need to work on. But anyway, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining what Kate does. So I'm just going to hand you over now. So, Kate, what do you do?
You did pretty good, actually, Kim. So yes, and yeah, I work as an energy healing practitioner, and it's something that it's not like something I decided. Oh, when I grow up, I want to be an energy healer. Nothing I ever understood most of my life. Um, but at one point I was working with kind of a wellness company, and I started learning about how food is energy for the body. And I started to learn that your body could heal itself if it had the right fuel, but also if the energy roadblocks were removed. And that
Right.
concept kind of intrigued me. I didn't really understand that, but I started to learn that as much as you have like a digestive system in the body and a respiratory system, you have an energy system in your body. And just like you shared when you were introducing me, everything is energy in its purest form. Absolutely everything. Even you. You're made of energy. You live in an energy world. You interact with energy. Your body utilizes energy to function. And so everything in its purest form is energy. And so when we look at how we act and react and just communicate and just live life in the world, we have to, understand that we are energy, and there are things that can disrupt the flow of energy. And so, what I do as an energy healing practitioner is very simply, I help you discover suppressed energy that's in the body. Now,
Right.
there's all types of energy healing work done, there's many modalities out there. My focus is really discovering what energies you've suppressed in your body or suppressed in the energy field that's right outside of your body. And the reason it's important to discover those things is because that energy, like all energy, vibrates at different frequencies. So it's
Right.
always meant to move. And so if you've suppressed energy in your body, that's a vibration that's not meant to be there. And so it can disrupt your tissues and your muscles and your organs and glands, your brainwave functions. It
Mhm.
can create emotional patterns and emotional habits. Um,
Mhm.
that you may or may not even, realize you have this energy trapped in your body.
No.
You have a lot, most of the time you don't, and if we can identify it, we can move it. So it's really been a wonderfully fun journey, and I absolutely love supporting both people, and I actually support animals as well with this work, which is cool. But a lot of people don't really comprehend that your thoughts and your emotions are
Hmm.
energy. And that's really the most important thing to understand is you think and feel and think and feel and think all day long.
Right.
Goes on a lot of times kind of under the, under the surface. Like you don't realize sometimes what you're thinking or feeling. And,
Yeah.
your subconscious is running so many things in the background.
Yes.
And your thoughts and emotions are energy. And if you suppress emotions, which all of us do, it affects you long term. And it's a big
Yes.
contributor to, sometimes discomfort and pain. And, you know, it can also affect, again, a lot with relationships and communication.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's been a lot of work, a lot of research recently being done on the effect of stress and repressed emotions on physical health. I mean,
100%.
and this is exactly, and I mean, this is essentially what what you are talking about here. So this is, and what why I was also want to point that out, because sometimes, especially when this like these ideas are new, you kind of think, well, that just sounds a bit all the way out there, but it's actually not. And you know I have to go back and find the study, but I remember looking at one, and I think Jody talks about this study as well. Um, so you guys would have met Jody Solberg a couple of weeks ago. Jody and Kate do a lot of work together as well.
We
Uh,
do.
so um, I think it was like the when scientists studied the impact on tissues or something like a massive car accident on a person, and they compared it to the tissue damage that was being done by suppressed emotions, by tremendous mental and emotional stress, that it was comparable. And in some cases, the damage being done by stress was actually much more.
Mhm.
So it's
It's incredible if you've ever heard that stress is the number one killer, right? So a lot of
right.
people hear this, right? It's kind of a becoming a buzzword, I guess, out there.
Yeah.
Stress is the number one killer. Well, in fact, your thoughts and your emotions, they're energy, but they're a physiological response.
Right.
So when you experience an emotion, positive or negative, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
Chemical reactions happening in your brain, and then one of your organs or your glands produces this emotion, right?
Right.
We give it meaning, but it's a vibration of energy, it's an emotion, and it's felt in the body.
Right.
So much of stress is physical that we don't realize. We're like, oh, we need to avoid stress or this or that. Stress is kind of a part of life, but you can feel it if you're having headaches, if you're having shoulder or back pain or hip pain. Sometimes, it's all kinds of, you can give stress a lot of names. It could be a trauma, it could be,
Mhm.
a physical stress, an inflammation stress, a psychological stress, all of these things, but
Right.
it's felt by the body. And so it can cause physical issues and physical pain in the body. It can create, be kind of at the root of dis-ease. There's all kinds of things that trigger reactions in the body that if you really look back, this was because of emotional stress or,
Mhm.
physical stress. Yeah, yeah, it could be something like an accident, and it could be an emotional reaction to something that happened that's just stuck or suppressed in the body. And it's meant to move, so we got to help it move out of the body. That's the
This
goal.
is it, right? And I'm happy you said that we're about meant to make it move, and it because that is something that we talk about a lot too. It's like there's nothing wrong with feeling emotions. Now, don't let your emotions dictate how you act. Because emotions aren't actually fact. They're a way that you feel. They're neither right nor wrong, but they're not. They don't have to determine how you behave. But you are meant to feel them,
Yes.
and then let them release.
Yes.
And this is where your work, and I mean, oh my gosh, how this impacts relationships is incredible, because there's almost no other space where you can feel such intense emotions. as in that most intimate relationship in your life.
Yeah.
So you can have some of the most heightened, wonderful emotions, and you can also have some of the deepest, darkest, sharpest emotions as well. And then this is where we have to look at it. What are we holding on to?
Mhm.
Because none of it is meant to be kept. We're meant to experience it, feel it, and release it. And
Yes.
that's what you do when we're not letting it go, when we have the blocks and it just can't pass.
Right. I always show it kind of like this little wave. So I like to show it like this. So like your body, you have input from your environment. So whether that be a thought that you have or something you see or hear or witness or perceive or imagine from something you perceive, right? So you
Mm,
live in this world and your senses are activated. And so when that chemical reaction happens in the brain and the body produces an emotion, it's like your body produces the emotion, you're then meant to feel it, and then it moves right along. And this is just this normal, healthy, emotional experience. And that's positive or negative. We
mm,
typically only feel our emotions for a few seconds, maybe up to 60 seconds. Sometimes a little bit longer, but in reality, this is just you feel it and let it go,
mm,
positive or negative. So think about
mm.
it. When you hear something really funny and you bust out laughing, right? You don't laugh for the rest of your life, right? You just feel it and then it kind of moves along. And then the next emotion comes up and the next emotion.
Right.
Absolutely. Now, when you interrupt that process because maybe something's too overwhelming or too
Yeah.
scary or
Too
too fearful,
painful.
or it's something that you felt before that maybe is associated with that something uncomfortable or a trauma or a fear or whatever, right? So you might all of a sudden feel something and it reminds you of an experience and you're like not dealing with this, right?
Right.
And so
Correct. Yep.
right? So it can happen consciously and it can happen many times subconsciously where you're not even realizing that you're suppressing that energy. But instead
Mhm.
of allowing this wave to happen and this energy to move and process, you suppress that in your body. And in my industry, as an emotion code practitioner, we call it trapping the emotion. And because that
Right.
energy is now trapped in the physical body where it was meant to be felt and moved. And you said it so beautifully. It's like we apply the meaning to it, right? It's
Mhm.
meant to be felt. I mean, it provides information, positive or negative,
Yeah.
and it's meant to be felt. It's meant to be there, but it's also meant to move along and not live there.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if we can pay attention to what we're feeling in the moment, right? And we can just notice it, positive or negative, give it a name, understand, okay, I'm
Right.
feeling insecure or angry or sad or whatever. It could be any emotion. Um,
Mhm.
okay. And then just allow it to go because your body knows how to process energy naturally. It really does. It's just sometimes we feel that emotion for that, 15, 20 seconds or whatever. And then you feel that another emotion again and another. So you might feel things habitually,
Yeah.
maybe because you didn't get the message. Or, we can kind of have habitual ways of thinking or patterns
Mhm.
occur because we have habitual thoughts that occur.
Yeah.
And so that's where it really takes, some introspection. And so, okay, why am I feeling this way again and again and again?
Mhm.
If I don't
Yeah.
want to feel this way, okay, I understand you don't want to feel that way, but why are you feeling that way? And if we can understand that, you're going to one process that energy. And then we just need to go back and release all that trapped energy from the past.
Right.
That really can keep you stuck. It can get triggered. Like if you've suppressed rejection emotions and feelings, from when you were a kid or when you were in high school and you met that
Mhm.
person that was special and then maybe they rejected you, right? So you've had this rejection, or you were trying to show something to a parent when you were a young child and they answered their phone instead of looked at your picture and you felt rejected, right? So it could affect how you act in your current relationships out of fear of that old trapped energy, that trapped emotions of rejection. And if we can release those, then you're now in a position where you can communicate better. You can think before you react. And there's so much power in not only releasing the energy from the past, which is what I do, but then also learning to just understand
Mhm.
what you're meant to feel. And okay, I feel what I feel.
Mhm.
No,
Exactly.
you feel what you feel. You know?
Exactly. It just is. Okay, I have a few questions. So, and I don't know how come these never came up in all of our conversations. All right, so we're talking about those trapped feelings, and I mean, so your work looks at the experiences of the past. Now, one of the things that we've been talking about this morning is that sense that emotions are meant to be felt and released. So, what about somebody who is going through something really, really difficult? Let's say maybe it could be something like infidelity in in their marriage. It could be maybe even the death of a loved one. I've been chatting with a couple ladies recently, both of whom have actually lost children this
Oh,
year. Exactly, and I mean, so something. I mean, in cases like that, like those those feelings of grief, and anger. I mean, that's not like how. What is that wave like? Because that's not going. They're not going to wake up tomorrow morning and feel okay.
right. Yeah, it's a process for sure. Grief is very intense. Dealing with if you're dealing with things like infidelity, what you feel is what you feel. Okay, there's no judgment, intense or not. Sometimes we don't feel things intensely, and sometimes with situations like you're sharing, it hits you like that wave really it takes you along with it. And
Yes.
so yeah, and that's normal and healthy to experience that as well. It's very appropriate to the situation. And I would just say that what you want is to, I'm not a therapist, so let's be
Right.
really clear about that. Okay,
Well,
and
yeah.
this is not therapy,
No.
but there's definitely power in that. And I encourage people to seek support when they're going through something intense like that and to have either a coach or a therapist or somebody to help guide them. But when you're feeling intense emotions like that,
Yeah.
you just want to allow it and just, okay, I feel angry. I feel sad. I feel complete despair. You don't have to speak it out loud, but
Yeah.
by saying, I feel this, it's okay that I feel this, but I'm choosing to release this. By holding on to it, sometimes people think if I'm holding on to it, then I'm just not, I'm handling it, right? Or
Right.
you're not handling it because you're holding on to it. And so by holding on to it and suppressing that energy, essentially
It's
you never let it go. And so you'll continue to feel that. Whereas
right.
you can just, and
Feel
sometimes
it.
it's
Yeah.
appropriate in the moment, sometimes it's not. But if you can just allow yourself to feel it. So if you're angry, find a way to express that anger in a healthy way. So if
Right.
you scream into a pillow, if you need to, hit your pillow or something like that, whatever, in a safe way, or have
Mm.
a trusted friend or somebody that you can express your anger to,
Yeah.
that gets the emotion out. And then
Yeah.
it's been honored, it's been understood that, okay, you felt this. If you're feeling despair or grief, allow yourself to cry, allow yourself to react and feel.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's
it's
not going to make it better. But with the thing, you just don't want to be hanging on to. You don't want to be fooling yourself or anybody around you that you're okay, that you're all calm and collected. No, you're not calm and collected, and it's okay.
It's totally okay. And the reality is expressing yourself and letting yourself not be okay
Yeah.
is the healthiest thing you can allow for your body, because again, emotions are physical. That's why, like, when somebody is feeling extreme anger, you can see it in their body. They tense up, they're feeling it, right? When you're experiencing grief, I remember situations where, I've lost loved ones, and my whole face hurt from crying and the pain that I was in. And then of course you can feel heartbreak.
Mhm.
I mean, have you ever, someone who's lost somebody has felt the emotion of heartbreak, and it's pain in your chest. You can feel it physically, but you have to kind of allow it so it can move, so it can pass. If you suppress that and you know, I'm not going to feel this, you're going to feel it physically for a long time, and it can create
Mhm.
a lot of chronic issues and discomfort for people. I've worked with people like, gosh, I've had pain in my back for since I can remember. Okay, well, what happened way back when you when that first happened? Because
Yeah.
that's a bunch of suppressed emotions there. If you've experienced heartache, many of us have emotions around our hearts to protect us.
Mhm. We
We
do.
sure that we want to move that energy.
We
So
do. And I'll share a little story with that. So I know that when we first met, I did one of Kate's sessions. I can't remember the name of it. So you will explain, you'll remind us the name of that session.
yeah, to rebalance energy
Was
healing.
balance one, yes. So um and I remember that you were able to trace one of my trapped emotions back to around 17, 18. And there were like two things that had happened very close to each other. One was my grandfather passing away, and the other one was I guess you could say your first love or whatever, and that just not going very well at all. And one of the ways that I had taught myself to deal with those very intense emotions was simply to shut them down. I was also at my final year of high school. I had lots of stuff to do and projects and, goals. And I was just like, well, fine. If I focus on my schoolwork and I don't have to feel those things.
Right.
And that's what I did. It was just like shut it down. And every time a thought came in or I started to feel anything from it, I would just shut it down and go find something to study. I mean, literally, I would just pick up something. And I can guarantee you there was no shortage of things to pick up at that point. And I thought I was so good because, I had learned how to, I learned how to manage it. I
Hmm.
was fine.
Yeah.
But I won't lie. I mean, as you said, like how many years later? Over 20, well over 20 years later, you're picking up on those suppressed emotions. And the reality is I had never allowed myself to properly grieve my grandfather.
Yeah.
And that what and yeah, and I would say, it took me that long to get to that point where it's like, it's okay. It's okay to like be angry, be sad, be all of those things that I never let myself feel all those years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And it affects us in so many different ways. And it shows up in so many different ways in our lives by not
Mhm.
allowing those emotions to be felt. And please understand, it doesn't mean that every time you feel something bad, you're going to trap it or suppress it.
No,
That's not
no,
the case by any means. But by allowing yourself to feel, and like you said, you just shut it down because you didn't want to feel it.
yeah,
That's and this is and you gave yourself a focus and a deterrent, and it worked in the moment for you.
yeah.
It but ultimately
Ultimately,
you just put a bunch of energy in your body that wasn't meant to be there. And so that affected you long term. And so again, emotions only last a few seconds or so. Now, an intense emotion like grief, what you're talking about, intense anger, whatever the situation is, there's times in our life where we're just going to hit something that is super crazy, super intense, super hard. And so guess what? It might last a little bit longer,
yeah,
and that's okay. Or you might feel something intensely for that 90 seconds, and then guess what? That one passes and another one comes up. And so you might feel bad for a little while. Uh,
right.
but by allowing it, you're not suppressing it. And really suppressing or trapping emotions creates emotional baggage. It creates this baggage that you're carrying with you day in and day out and day in and day out. And that's going to have a physical and an emotional, psychological effect on your body. If you've ever met somebody that, goes from zero to angry in like 1 second flat for just anything. It's because they
Mhm.
have all of this emotional baggage, and now the simplest thing can trigger them or set them off.
Yeah.
If you can find a way to release all of these energies that, you've trapped throughout the years, you
Right.
have so much more ability to say, "Oh, okay, well, this is a situation where I feel angry. This is justified, not justified, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, but I'm feeling this way." But you also have the ability to think and respond appropriately because you've been able to release all this emotional baggage that you've been carrying. So there's the
Mhm.
effects of physically feeling better, feeling lighter, feeling less tension and pain in the body, as well as the emotional, releasing those emotional patterns. And so people with like chronic anxiety, chronic headaches, people with chronic, reactions, you can literally be addicted to certain emotional energies. Like this chemical
Right.
reaction happens in the brain. So you can become addicted to a negative emotion because you felt it, you haven't expressed it, you've trapped it and trapped it and trapped it. Then your body gets used to feeling a certain way, and it is a cycle that perpetuates. So
Right.
for someone who is always feeling a certain way, well, we need to just, you're constantly triggering that emotional reaction because you haven't allowed it to process.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's a big part of, becoming addicted, or, and I don't want to say addicted in like the way that it's, that's a real issue and disease for people with addiction, but you can actually become in this way where this reaction, this way of feeling is something subconsciously that your subconscious thinks is safe, is thinks it's appropriate, and it's just this, it's the only way you're functioning. And if you want to change that, then you have to release these trapped emotions.
Correct.
It's just
Okay.
part. Yeah.
So looking at those trapped emotions, so I have two questions around trapped. One would be the short term one and then the long term. So, we talked about sometimes you you may not be in a safe space to feel the emotion.
Mhm.
Maybe you're driving and you you really can't.
Yeah, you have to pull over, right? Yeah.
So, um, and you kind of pack it away a little bit.
Mhm.
Uh, what is that process like? I mean, like what would be the I don't know if if my question is clear enough, but it's like if you know that I'm just not going to feel this right now, I just need to get through one thing first and then I can deal with it. Like, what is that like? Is that
Right.
happening? What is that doing?
So that's kind of a situation where you're just talking to your body and your subconscious, and it's like, okay, I'm feeling this, but I need to do this. This is important. And I honor you. I know that you're there and we're going to deal with it. But we're going to do this first. I need to get to this location. I need to, get through this thing that you have to get through. But
Yeah.
you do have to go back and say, okay, that feeling's still inside of me. So if you can identify what it is in the moment, and that, I don't want
Mm,
to say shut it down, but just say, okay, fear, I see you, right? I
right,
see you.
right, right.
Here's the thing, you can do this very quickly, and
Mm,
you can do it very much where you're diving in and exploring it. It doesn't always have to be a deep dive, right? So when it's a super intense emotion like grief just hits you and you're just like, but I have to do something, then it's
mm,
like, okay, I feel sad, I'm grieving, this is the situation. I honor that, but I need to just do this thing, right? I need to get to this
yeah.
location. Um, you know, that's one way, but you can very simply process emotions in this way, and I'll show it to you. I'll give this an example for everybody. It's so simple. If you can identify what you feel, just give it a name, right? So
Right.
think of something in the last 24 hours you felt that maybe you didn't like, right? So it
Mhm,
could have been something very recently, right? You maybe felt something that, what could be nervousness, fear, scared, whatever. I don't know what's going on in anybody's life here, but
mhm,
so if you can think of an emotion, so let's just say overwhelm, right? Or stress. We talked about stress at the beginning. Have you felt stress in the last 24 hours? Then you can just take a nice deep breath and just say, okay, I feel stressed and I choose to release this right now. Okay. You've moved that energy. Okay, you're not going to suppress that energy by just identifying it, taking a nice deep breath in, and just saying, I choose to let this go. Now,
Mhm.
you may residually still feel it, but you're not going to suppress that energy. You've identified it, you've taken in the information from it. Now, if you have time to dive in, then you can say, okay, I'm feeling stressed. Is this appropriate for what's going on in my life right now? Is this habitual? Is this? You can ask those questions,
Mhm.
and that's really where the power of learning to have emotional intelligence and manage your emotions comes in, from really exploring it. But there's plenty of times where I'm just like, okay, I'm feeling XYZ and I'm choosing to let it go. And breathing is so important to moving energy. And it's a really simple way to take a nice,
Mhm.
focused breath and just, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling stressed. Okay, I'm going to breathe for a minute and I'm choosing to let this go.
Right.
And that's as simple as processing an emotion. It doesn't have to be this big massive thing. It's allowing it without shutting it down, and so you can use that. Another thing I teach people is, if you have it really only takes a minute. If you're in a place where you can do this, right, and I can do this while driving, right,
Right.
you can say to yourself, okay, I'm feeling whatever. I'm feeling horrible, whatever it is, right? So call it stress, right? Um,
Right.
if you're driving in your car and you're feeling stressed, you can pay attention and drive and still say to yourself, I'm feeling stressed.
Yeah.
And you can say, okay, I breathe in calmness, and then take a nice deep breath in, and I breathe out stress, and just blow it out like you're blowing air through a straw, like a drinking straw. You can
Right.
do that.
Right.
So I breathe in calmness and I breathe out stress. And you do that 5 or 6 times. In a matter of 60 seconds, you'll completely shift how you feel. And it doesn't mean that you ignore the feeling. You're just saying, okay, I'm now choosing calm and I'm releasing stress.
Right.
So you can absolutely say, okay, I feel complete despair and grief, and I want to cry right now. And I'm choosing calmness. I'm going to breathe in calmness, and I'm going to breathe out crying and sadness. And it's just a way to process things in the moment, uh,
Right.
in a very simple way without suppressing that energy. So if you can do those 5 or 6 breaths, you're now telling your body, I'm going to breathe in calmness, and I'm breathing out worry. I'm breathing out fear. I'm breathing out nervousness. And I'm breathing calmness, and I'm breathing out fear. And just doing that will help you process that energy. Doing that 5 times, 6 times takes no more than 60 seconds. I
Okay.
mean, it really doesn't. So, if you have to go do something, do that breathing exercise. It'll help you, and then you can do the deep dive and the journaling later.
Right.
Like,
Right. Right.
fine. But
Right.
you can process your emotions very quickly. You
Yeah.
absolutely can, even if they're super intense. I remember a time for me when I had lost someone special, and I was downstairs doing laundry for the first time,
Mhm.
and it just hit me. And there's a reason it hit me while I was doing laundry. And I had this sense of guilt come over me, and along with the grief and so on. And I was like hyperventilating, like not good, right? And so it was very hard to just stop and take a deep breath, but just forcing myself to even say, okay, I feel this, and I'm
Mhm.
letting it go. It took a couple of times, and then I got to the point where I could then just breathe, and I could just say, okay, I breathe in calmness, and I'm breathing out this guilt that I feel, and I'm breathing in calmness, and I'm breathing out this guilt that I feel. And it was a way to just work through it in the moment,
In the
by
moment.
but not you know I didn't have to sit and evaluate it, and make
Right.
it, like, just to, like, we feel things and we release them. We can, that intense energy, we can through breath and through just
Mhm.
identifying it, let it go. So
Oh wow. Yep. And as you said, this is not. It's not. It's not a. it's not a cure all. It's not taking away your pain, but it's helping you to process it and not
Yes.
have long term effects from it. And
Yes.
well, that comes back to my other question then. So what happens? And I mean, I this would speak directly to the work that you do. What happens now with the repressed emotions, the ones that we've had since we were little, that we just kind of packed away and don't even know that we're moving around with? Like,
Right? Yeah.
what do we do with those? How do we even know we have them?
Yeah, so the process, I do a couple different energy healing modalities. The emotion code is the foundational modality that I learned, and I learned it as a self care practice. So, truly, anybody can learn how to do this for themselves. But often, when you're really going through and trying to really work on yourself, it helps to have a practitioner at the beginning because they can just guide you through it much more quickly. There's an art to learning to what we call muscle test your body. So, I use a process called muscle testing to just ask your subconscious what emotions are trapped and
Yeah.
what emotions are ready to be released right now. And, your subconscious knows everything about you. Your subconscious knows everything that's happened to you. It knows every emotion that you felt. It remembers all kinds of things that you don't remember. It's a massive computer, a massive record keeper. And the job of the subconscious is to keep you safe and to keep you alive. Now, its perception of what is keeping you safe and your conscious perception of what's keeping you safe and alive are different in a lot of cases. So, like for you, when you were 17, I'm shutting this down. That was a conscious decision,
Yeah.
right? And your subconscious went right along with that. I agree with that. We're shutting this down, right? Because it felt heartbreak, right? It felt these
Mhm.
things, and those are painful. Your body feels it. Your subconscious feels heartbreak, right? But in it
Mhm.
wants to keep you safe and alive. Was that the right thing to do? No, not necessarily, but that's okay. So we can also then ask the subconscious through this process of muscle testing and just say, okay, what emotions are trapped that are safe and appropriate to release right now? And it's going to come up with this one and that one and this one and that one. And it's a very quick, simple, non invasive process of
Yeah.
asking the subconscious what needs to be released. We then identify it and then we release it very quickly. And it's a very simple process. I have this massive chart of emotions that could be felt. I use different apps and software that map out the physical body and map out, and there's a lot of other energies besides emotions. We've talked primarily about emotions,
Mhm.
but there's trauma energies and there's just things that imbalance your system as a whole. You might have trapped emotions in your stomach, in your heart, in your brain. You might have a misalignment in an organ or gland of your body that is oftentimes an emotion will misalign something and then we can realign that. But it's really just asking the body, what can we release? So if you've got a pain in your shoulder, we can go really specific and say what's causing that pain in the shoulder. And
Mhm.
so it might be a bunch of emotions, and then it might be a ligament that needs realignment, right? Because of all these emotions disrupted that ligament, right? So we release the emotions, we align the ligament. Your body does its own self-healing. So
Right.
I'm not healing you. I'm just releasing the roadblocks and the energy and moving that out so your body can repair itself. Your body's designed to do that. So, with all of these energies from the past, we don't have to, know why. We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to relive it. You don't have to remember even the situation. Like, when we did your session, you could identify, you knew exactly what happened at age 17, right? But if
Right.
something happened when you were like, 3 months old, you're not
Right.
going
Yeah.
to remember that
No,
necessarily.
you don't.
So your subconscious knows. You don't, but your subconscious knows that there was this energy, this vibration and it suppressed that energy, and now we can release that and let it go. So you don't have to talk about it, relive it, remember it. You might remember it. You might suddenly bring on a new emotion or an echo of that emotion when we release it. So
Yeah.
most of the times people are just very relaxed during a session. They're just listening as I help them find these things and release it for them. And they're just very relaxed. And they typically say, wow, I feel lighter. I feel more alert, more focused after the session. Sometimes people actively feel the energy moving and leaving. And sometimes people do, and sometimes people don't. Like if you start yawning in the middle of a session, you're releasing energy, right? If you laugh unexpectedly, that's a release of energy. That's an emotion, right? So you might be releasing something, but you just feel that energy go. Some people need to suddenly move or stretch while I'm doing a session, and just their body's like, okay, let's move this out. Let's go.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And sometimes people could just get right after a session, they're like, I need a nap right now. That's it. And their body's probably been craving sleep, right?
Oh,
And
true, true. Yeah.
And so sometimes we just need to rest, and rest is healing. So,
It
uh,
is. It is.
you don't have to remember or know about it, but we can discover all kinds of energy. And in reality, you can trap emotions while you're being developed in the womb, and
Right.
you can trap unique emotions that you inherited from your parents or your grandparents or great grandparents many generations back.
Mm.
You can inherit your emotions that have been trapped. And again, it's somebody else trapped them, but that energy got passed down and passed down. So if
Mm.
you ever said to yourself, gosh, when I really think about it, I don't ever remember not feeling this way.
Right.
Sometimes
Yeah.
that's an emotion you inherited. um, you can absorb emotional energy from other people. Our animals absorb our emotions a lot
Oh,
of times.
true. They do.
You
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, it's like if you ever walk into a room and you can feel like love and laughter, you can feel people's emotions, you can feel that energy. Or you walk into a room and the people there were just fighting, and then they turned around and said, "Oh, hi." You can feel that, right? So some people are more sensitive to knowing that they're feeling other people's energy, and some people,
Right.
but yeah, absolutely. It's a
And
very simple process to release emotions from the past, but it's very powerful, uh,
it is.
because you're just letting go of that baggage, right? You're letting that emotional baggage go, and then your body can restore and rebalance, and you just start to notice, wow, gosh, I can think more clearly. Gosh, I'm not as reactive. You know what? I'm handling stress better.
Yeah.
Sometimes people feel an immediate something, and some people notice an emotional pattern or habit gets better.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me, "Oh my God, I've had abdominal pain, and whatever you just did, it's gone." Right? They can feel it in the moment, and other times they're like, it's that over time, like, for me, that's how it was when I worked on myself for years, just as
Right.
where I was like, wow, I'm finally like, I can handle stress. Like, it doesn't mean stress isn't going to happen. It doesn't mean,
No. Yeah.
but my ability to think through it and not react in a, negative way. I'm able to like say, okay, well, this is going on now. What can we do about it? Or, that kind of thing. There's just a better approach.
Correct. Correct. Ooh.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk a little bit about your modality. So we looked at the rebalancing, and now you're also doing the voice scans. So maybe a little information.
Okay, so everything's energy, right? So
Right.
trapped emotions, the emotion code, it's called I do a rebalance energy healing where I combine these release work type sessions, which is what we've been talking about, releasing this energy. Recently, I came across a software, which is a wonderful like self-care tool as well that I use for my clients, but I also encourage my clients to use for themselves. So it uses sound therapy to support processing your emotional energies and understanding what's happening energetically in the body. And so, if you think about it, for generations and generations, ancient civilizations knew for years that sound and vibration could support and heal the body.
Right.
So if you've ever heard of, Tibetan singing bowls, or, different civilizations using gongs and different things, they used music to heal. And if you think about it, I bet you have certain songs or music that when you hear it, it just elevates your mood, right? Or, can bring you back to a memory, right? You hear a song and you're like, oh my God, I'm in high school and this happened, right? We all have that. So, sound is another type of energy that can be very restorative and healing for the body. And so, I came across a software. It's called the AO Scan technology. And I basically use this software to help my clients process their current emotions. So, whereas the energy healing and the emotion code work helps release all that trapped emotional baggage from the past. When you do this sound recording, it's a voice recording. So you would basically talk into this software for about 10 seconds,
Mhm.
and the software analyzes your voice across thousands and thousands of frequencies, and it starts to find vibrations in your voice, kind of set to a musical scale, but it finds things that
Mhm.
are oscillating or vibrating like too high, out of range compared to like what a normal healthy range would be, or they find one that's suppressed.
Right.
And so it can figure out what's going on currently in this moment as you speak. And a lot
Mhm.
of your emotions are carried in your voice. So I know they can get trapped in your body anywhere, but you express emotions through your voice, and you can't hide that, right? It just shows up. And so this wonderful software gives you kind of an energetic health report of what's going on. It can tell you positive things in your voice, negative things going on, and it can help you process your energy because it
Mhm.
creates this personalized sound, customized, personalized sound healing therapy, that's set to music. So it's just frequencies
Right.
that balance out what's too high and brings it down, and takes what's suppressed and brings it up. And you literally just listen to music, and under the music are these vibrations, these frequencies, and it can elevate your mood. It can help you focus. It can help you relax. It can help your body just process energy. And it's absolutely simple and beautiful and easy. And you experienced it, and I haven't heard what you thought of it yet. So
It
tell
was,
me.
and it means you said it, it was totally non-invasive. It really was just talking for 10 seconds, and then this scan came up with this, all these results came up. And as you said, it then generates a particular sound. What do you call it again?
It's basically a harmonizing frequency. It's set to
Right.
music. Yeah, it's this
Right.
this frequency set to music. So they
Right.
call them balancing harmonics, because it'll balance out what's out of range for you.
Right. So the first thing that I really noticed with it was that I could listen to it. And I'll tell you why I say that, because I am not the kind of person who can have background music on while I work.
Mhm.
As much as, I mean, it could be music that I absolutely love, it could be music that I could technically tune out. It doesn't matter. At some point, no matter how lovely, it just becomes noise, and
Right.
it's a distraction. I was able to use that frequency for like 2 hours, like
Wow.
continuous, and I was just working. I had the AirPods in, as you suggested, and I was just getting my stuff done. It didn't bother me at all. It never struck me as there's something else going on. So, I mean, so that alone, and then yes, there was, because I think in my scan there was a little bit of there was a bit of anxiety and impatience, and yes, that I think I did kind of. I think that's normal too. It's like every day. It did settle down. It did settle down a lot. So I noticed that, and I mean, I have to say, I was just shocked by the fact that it never registered as a noise
Yeah.
to me.
It's just it's customized to you, and then there's things that we hear sometimes that are disturbing to our ears, and there's things that can support and benefit. And the beauty of this is whether you're feeling, like you said, some anxiousness, or whether you're just having trouble shutting your brain down at night, you could listen to some calming music with these frequencies right before bed, and it can just help shut your body down and put you in a place where you're ready to move into that sleep pattern, or it can wake you up and energize you. It's just because it's personalized to you. So it's a really simple tool that works so well with the emotion code work.
It does. All right. So then, for those who are listening who may want to try this, how do they get in contact with you? How do they set up an appointment? What's the process? Where
Yes. So my business is called Rebalance with Kate, and I'm at rebalancewithkate.com. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Rebalance with Kate. The best way to kind of explore whether you would maybe want to try this is to simply reach out to rebalancewithkate.com, click the Learn More button, and you'll be guided to where you can schedule a discovery consultation. And it's totally free. It's just you and I on the phone or on a Zoom, whatever you prefer. And we can just chit chat about, what questions you have. And I can explain the muscle testing a little more detail and just be able to have a conversation to see if it would be a good fit for you. And I can even demonstrate on you, if how it works. You can kind of feel comfortable with what the process would be. But again, it's very relaxing, non-invasive. So just reach out for that discovery consultation. It's totally free. It's just a chance for us to talk. There's no pressure. And if it looks like a good fit, then we would move forward with, typically it's called a rebalance energy healing. And that's where we do the motion code type work. I bring in those other modalities that I work with as well. And then you can experience some inner voice sound therapy as well. So anything for your greatest good is how I approach it. So it's a simple way to just get in touch with me.
Perfect. So rebalancewithkate.com. Check her out. Kate is truly wonderful. And if nothing else, you will leave that session feeling incredibly relaxed. So if you're looking for a little bit of peace, especially at this time of year, I strongly recommend you get in contact with her. Oh my gosh. But thank you so much, Kate, for being here today.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've enjoyed this chat so much.
Lovely. All right. So this show can be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it.